Hi, it's Steph, and I'm at Lowe's, and they got a whole new shipment of grasses and shrubs, which are perfect for fall planting. So let's go ahead and take a look at the mid-August inventory at Lowe's. The first thing I noticed is that they have some Carl Forester reed grasses. This is one of my favorite ornamental grasses because they're nice and compact and upright. The Carl Forester reed grass likes full sun, and they will start to bloom in summer and fall, and blooms on ornamental grasses are these plumes that they send up. These almost look like wheat, and they have a really pretty tan, almost bronzy color. They're really nice. And it gets to be about 3 feet wide and about 4 to 5 feet tall. Really great grass. $22.98. Some azaleas. These here are called fashion azalea, and recently someone told me that azaleas have been reclassified as rhododendron. So it's funny to see that that's what it says on the tag here. A shrub for part sun. It blooms in spring, and this container here looks to be just under a 2-gallon. It's a 1.71 for $21.98. And this fashion azalea, let's see how big it gets. 6 feet in height and 6 feet in width. Hardy down to a zone 6 or negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. I do find that azaleas are not deer resistant for me in my garden, so something to think about. Another really pretty grass, and this one is called zebra grass. And the zebra grass also loves full sun. Most grasses do prefer full sun. The exception to that would be like the Japanese forest grass, like the Hakonakloa. Those will prefer shade. So this zebra grass here, full sun, and it's an ornamental grass that blooms in fall. $9.98 for these smaller containers. And let's see how big this one gets. It looks like it gets to be 8 high by 6 wide, and hardy down to zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Another wonderful grass is the hamlin. This is a dwarf fountain grass, and look how pretty that is. It looks like a little fountain, actually, with all of the little plumes. And it starts putting on its plumes towards the middle to the end of summer. So actually right now I have one in my garden that is starting to have its plumes. They've been there for maybe a week or two. So I would say that it's a midsummer bloomer. And these are the blooms on the grass. It likes full sun. And let's see how big these get. They're pretty compact. I don't like the way that they attach these tags. It makes it difficult to read, but they get to be 20 inches in height and 20 inches in width. So about 1.5 to 2 feet tall and wide on average, I would say, on these. And they're hardy to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit or zone 5. And these actually already have some plumes. Some wine and roses weigela. Now this is a really beautiful dark foliage shrub, and in the fall these colors look really beautiful. In fact, this is a wonderful shrub for a mixed shrub border because it's such a nice contrast against all of the green that the other shrubs have. So the wine and roses weigela I actually also grow in my garden in the spring. I would say sometime in late spring, end of May, beginning of June in my zone 6. It will have all of these little bell-shaped hot pink blooms. And let's see how big. Look how pretty that is. The dark foliage with those hot pink blooms. Really gorgeous. So this likes sun. The shrub is a full sun shrub. It is hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And it gets to be 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. And mine is about there at this point. It's been planted for maybe 4 to 5 years now, and it is full size. It's a really beautiful shrub. So these are proven winners, and they are in a 1-gallon container for $16.98. One of my favorite yellow shrubs for the garden that is really easy to find at the local box store is a lemon threadful cypress, or I like to call them golden mops. And look how pretty that is. It has a nice cascading effect with this wonderful gold foliage, and it contrasts so nicely against other evergreens in the garden. Look at that next to some green evergreens, and then you can even have them with some blue and some green. Look how pretty that looks. Gorgeous. So this container here looks to be just under a gallon. It is $13.98, so that's a great price for one of these shrubs. And it gets to be 3 to 5 feet in height and 2 to 4 feet wide. Hardy down to zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And actually, I had one of these that got a little bit too big, and I pruned it into a topiary. So now it looks like a little tree, and it fits its space so much better. But if you have space, these are absolutely gorgeous. Something to note about these is that to get this beautiful golden color, you need to have it in full sun. If you have it in a shadier spot, it'll stay a bit green, like you see on the under foliage here. So full sun, you get the best yellow color. Some mini Alberta spruces. These would be really cute if you wanted to put them in some containers once you take out your summer annuals. These would make a great centerpiece for wintergreen or evergreen interest in your containers, and you can even decorate them once the holidays come. So these dwarf Alberta spruce, they like full sun, and they are $13.98, and it's just under a gallon. If they get to be full size, they usually grow to be 3 to 4 feet in height and 3 to 4 feet in width. I've actually seen them get a bit bigger than that, so give them a little bit of room. I would say they probably get closer to the 5 to 6 feet tall and maybe 4 to 5 feet wide. They're hardy down to zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Another gorgeous evergreen for some color, blue-gray color, is this one here, and this is a blue star juniper. I've had some of these planted in my garden for about 10 years now, and they are full grown. And they're about 3 by 4, so 3 to 4 feet wide, and only about 12 to 18 inches in height. So they like full sun to get this nice blue color. And it says that the average mature size is 2 to 3 feet in height and 3 to 4 wide. So mine has definitely gotten 3 to 4 wide, not 2 to 3 height. At most 2 feet tall. But it is a great shrub, even for the front of the border, because it stays really low. And it is hardy down to zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And these are also $13.98. Some little giant Arborvitae, and I actually have a friend who grows these in her garden, and she really loves them and says that they are deer resistant for her. So something to look into if this was something you wanted to use in your garden. But what's nice about these is that they grow in a spherical or globe type shape. So the little giant Arborvitae is $13.98 for this container here, which they're all about a gallon or just under. It likes full sun. And it gets to be 4 feet tall by 4 feet wide. And it is hardy down to zone 3, so pretty hardy, down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. The little giant Arborvitae. Here's a really pretty grass that just caught my eye. It's a little blue stem. Let's check that out. So this grass here is called the blue stem grass. It is a full sun ornamental grass, and it blooms in summer and fall, or it is in season in summer and in fall. These are $14.98, and let's see how big they get. So these here are hardy to zone 3 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so very hardy, and they get to be 24 to 36 inches in height and in width. Really pretty, the color on this. Some green giant Arborvitaes, and now these are great for privacy screening or for fencing, live fence options, and you'll find plenty of these available now as we head into fall, because it's a great time to plant these in fall. So the green giant Arborvitae is one that is more deer resistant than some of the other Arborvitae varieties. It likes full sun. They also prefer a good amount of water, especially when they're newly planted and establishing. So this size here looks to be maybe a 3-gallon container. They're roughly 3 feet tall, and they are $29.98 each. They're very hardy, so they are down to negative 10 degrees or zone 5, and they get to be 30 feet in height and 15 feet in width. So if you did want to use these as a live fence, you just want to determine how big they are so that you would know how far apart to plant each one, so that as they fill out, they create more of a fence. Fall is for planting. It sure is. So this here is a Mr. Bowling Ball Arborvitae. This is also a variety that appears to be more resistant to deer. And this one here, the Mr. Bowling Ball, stays also in a globe or, spherical globe shape. And it gets to be 24 to 30 inches in height and 24 to 30 inches in width. It is hardy down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 3. And here's the Mr. Bowling Ball Arborvitae. And these here are, let's see, they are a 2.33 gallon, and they are $29.98. Some purple leaf sand cherries. This is another shrub that also offers some red foliage. And this one does have these pretty little light pink blooms in the spring. It likes full sun. This container here is, it looks to be maybe a 2 gallon, yep, 2.33 for $26.98. And the purple leaf sand cherry shrub says that it is hardy down to zone 3 or negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And spacing varies, mature size as desired, because you can prune these to, you know, size control them to whatever size you need them to be. Some new proven winners, evergreens here in stock. They have the Skybox Japanese Holly. So the Skybox Japanese Holly by proven winners, let's see how big these get. They are a sun or part shade shrub, hardy in zones 6 through 8 or down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and they get to be 4 to 5 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide. They need a 3 to 4 foot spacing. They look similar to a boxwood. And the Holly Skybox is a 2 gallon container for $27.98. And they have some sunny yellow knockout roses. I've actually had these in my garden before and they're really pretty. They have this open center though, and I found that I used to get a lot of Japanese beetles on them. So I don't know if that was coincidence or not, but they're actually really beautiful. They start off with a yellow bud like that, and then they will age to a bit of a yellow center with a creamy outer, and the pollinators absolutely love them. The center being open like this makes the pollen really accessible to the pollinators. And they are fragrant, which is always a plus on a rose. The Knockout Rose brand, Sunny Knockout. Let's see how big it gets. It blooms spring through frost, and that is true. The knockout roses are so hardy. They will bloom all the way until your first frost. They get to be 4 to 5 feet in height and 3 to 4 feet in width, and they are hardy in zones 5 through 11 and excellent disease resistance. I will say that of all the roses I've grown in my garden, the Knockout brand roses have been the easiest to maintain with minimal issues. So this here is a number 2 or a 2 gallon container for $25.98. And some more pretty grasses. This one here is the Shenandoah switchgrass. Has a little bit of a red hue to it, and it's also starting to put on its seed heads. This is what the blooms look like on this type of grass. It's a more loose type seed head. The Shenandoah switchgrass also prefers full sun. It's an ornamental grass for summer and fall. It is hardy down to zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it gets to be 3 feet high by 2 feet wide. And the price on this one, $14.98. They also have some really beautiful purple fountain grass in stock. Something to know about the purple fountain grass. Here in my zone 6, it is only an annual. It is not winter tolerant or hardy, frost hardy. So once we get our first frost, these are done. They will not return next year. And that is something that I didn't know as a new gardener. But now that I have a little bit more than a decade of experience, something that I've learned over the years that, I want to share with you, so that if you do fall in love with the color of this grass like I once did, just know that it is a annual in most areas. So this is a full sun grass, purple fountain grass here, Pennisetum rubrum. It is $15.98 for this container, and it is only hardy to zone 9. So if you live in a zone 9, 10, 11, then this could be a perennial for you in return. But if you are in a zone colder than a 9, then you can treat it as an annual to use in your beautiful fall displays and fall containers, and that will be it. So these here get to be 4 to 5 feet in height and 4 to 5 feet in width. And the mums are rolling in. It is only mid-August, so I would probably hold off on buying any mums for at least a month. These need lots of water, and it's still fairly warm, which means that they can probably start to go bad fairly soon. But if you are going to buy any mums, regardless if you buy them now or in a month, I would always recommend buying them in a tightly budded form like this. That way you'll have longer with them. Also, taking them out of these containers and placing them in a little bit larger container with some soil that retains a little more moisture is always a good idea, because these, like I said, they dry out fairly quick. A really pretty variety of phlox by proven winners. This is the Opening Act Pinkadot phlox. And the Opening Act Pinkadot phlox, this here is in a 1 gallon container for $15.98. It likes full sun, and it's a medium height at 22 to 26 inches and needs 30-inch spacing, and it is hardy in zones 4 through 8 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. It's got a really beautiful, it says it's pink a dot, but I don't see too much pink. It looks more like a lavender color with a little bit of white, and the very center has a little bit of a pink eye. But it's really beautiful. Light pastel phlox. Now, something to keep in mind with phlox is you do want to pay attention to the spacing requirements, because some varieties of phlox, mostly the older varieties, are more susceptible to something called powdery mildew. And while it won't kill your plant, it's pretty unsightly and it will make all the plants look like they have a powdery substance on them. So always give your phlox proper airflow. And some new Monrovia shrubs. In fact, I see one down here that I have in my garden that is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and share that one with you. This beauty here with this golden color and arching branches is called the Golden Duchess Eastern Hemlock, and it's pretty compact. I've had this one in my garden for a couple of years. It's really slow growing and has such gorgeous color. So this one here likes partial sun or shade. I have it planted in my Japanese maple garden where it is getting part sun, and it gets to be 5 feet wide and only 4 feet tall. It is gorgeous. So it likes, like we talked about, full shade to partial sun, and it is hardy in zones 4 through 7 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So this one is $99. I find that in our area, because we're on the East Coast and Monrovia generally comes from the West Coast, they are a little pricier for us. So, you know, something to think about. But I will say that it's a phenomenal shrub. I've had no issues with it. The deer mostly stay away. I haven't seen anything eating on it. And it has the most beautiful golden color. And check out these gorgeous berries. Awesome. They are pink. So pretty. Let's see what this is called. This beauty is a St. Johns Wort. So this is the Floral Berry Rosé St. Johns Wort. It's a Monrovia shrub. It has ornamental berries. So someone had asked me in a recent Lowe's video about the berries and whether or not they were edible. Based on the fact that this says ornamental berries, I would say that they are not. And the other beautiful thing about this shrub is that it does bloom. So you see these little yellow blooms? First, you'll get the blooms. I believe they are sometime in spring, and then you get these gorgeous berries. And if I'm not mistaken, some of these St. John's wort shrubs also change color on the foliage. So just a really gorgeous multi-season interest shrub. So this one here is $39.98. And it is hardy in zones 5 through 9 or down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It likes partial shade to full sun, and it is moderate growing, reaching 3 feet tall and wide. What a beauty. Another beauty for some fall color is a Ninebark. Look how vibrant this red foliage is at the moment. The way the sun's hitting it, absolutely stunning. This here is a proven winner shrub, the summer wine Ninebark. And let's see, it likes sun, and it is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 7. Down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It gets to be 5 to 8 feet tall and wide, and it is a native shrub, disease resistant and compact. So really good size, and in the spring it gets these gorgeous clusters of light pink, apricot, peach colored flowers. Stunning. I have one of these in my garden and I absolutely love it. I also have a dwarf variety called the Tiny Wine Ninebark. Great shrubs. So these here, they're the proven winners. It's in a 2-gallon container for $27.98. And some really pretty Spirea that is currently in bloom with these hot pink clusters of blooms. There are pollinators all over these. Let's check out the variety. This is the Proven Winners Double Play Doozy Spirea. It is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8 or down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It gets to be 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, and it likes sun and part sun. Colorful foliage, petite shrub reblooming. So it provides interest in spring, summer, and fall. And it has medium deer resistance. The deer do not touch my candy corn Spirea, so it's possible that they wouldn't touch this one either. And look at that. That must be what the foliage looks like when it's new, this burgundy color. And the blooms are a beautiful hot pink. The Spirea Double Play Doozy is in a 1-gallon container for $16.98. The great thing about these smaller containers too is they're really easy to plant and they grow in no time. I feel like the smaller plants grow faster than some of the larger ones. And there are some new hydrangeas in stock, so let's see what varieties they have. the Quickfire Fab, which is supposed to be an improved variety of the traditional Quickfire hydrangea. The panicles on this one is much larger, and they have more of a, almost like a limelight type bloom with this pink coloring, where the traditional Quickfire, which I have, has more of an open type panicle bloom. Really pretty. It's also been bred for sooner blooming and for stronger stems. So this one here likes sun and part sun. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. It gets to be 6 to 8 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. It says early blooming, cold hardy, vibrant color. Look at that coloring. And this here, they start like this. So they'll be creamy and then they'll start turning pink before they get to be this beautiful pink color as we get cooler evenings towards the end of summer and beginning of fall. So this here is a 2-gallon container for $28.98. And the Pinky Winky. The Pinky Winky has the most beautiful panicles. They also have kind of a loose panicle look. But what's cool about them is that they almost get like a transient color or gradient color, like an ombre effect. They will be like cream, they'll be pink with cream on the ends, and then they'll eventually go all pink as the nights cool off and we get closer to fall. Really pretty. So here is the Pinky Winky Panicle Hydrangea. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. It likes sun and part shade. Gets to be 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. Large flowers, cold hardy, vibrant color. And they are starting to carry the Limelight Prime. So what happens is when a shrub is a new introduction, usually proven winners will send it to these smaller, local, independent specialty nurseries first. And then about a year after that, they will start showing up at the garden centers at the box stores. So this is the first time I'm seeing the Limelight Prime Panicle Hydrangea by proven winners. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. It likes sun and part shade. It is long blooming, cold hardy, and vibrant color. It gets to be 4 to 6 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. So this is supposed to be an improved variety over the Little Lime hydrangea. It says that it has stronger stems, earlier bloom, and a slightly smaller size than the traditional Limelight hydrangea. So this is a real pretty one. I have the Little Limes in my garden and I absolutely love them. They handle sun like a champ and they're gorgeous. But I would be interested in trying these out for the stronger stems, because after a heavy rain, regardless of how strong these stems are, the blooms are so large that they will flop a little after the rain. But you just shake them off, get some of the water droplets off, and then once they dry, they bounce back and they look better again. They are such stunning hydrangeas. These will go through gorgeous color changes. So right now it'll start off, they open up, they look a little bit green, then they get creamy colored. And as the nights cool off towards the end of summer, beginning of fall, they turn beautiful shades of pink. And in the fall, they have different shades of mauve and look like an antique flower. Stunning. Look at that. Can't beat that. So these here are a 2-gallon container for $28.98. And some Nippon daisies or Montauk daisies. I recently made a video that I went over 14 perennials that you can add to your garden for some late summer and fall color, and Montauk daisies was one of them. So if you love the traditional Shasta daisy, this would be a great addition to continue the daisy bloom show into the fall. So these are full sun Montauk daisies. This container here is $17.98. They are perennial, and they are hardy down to zone 5 or -10 degrees Fahrenheit. It says that they get to be 24 to 36 inches in height, and I think that is accurate for the height, but I have seen them get wider than 18 to 24 inches. I would say they probably get closer to 3 by 3, and they have a tendency to get woody, so when they're done blooming, you can cut them down to about 6 to 12 inches at the base, and that will help them continue to be bushy and put out new growth in the following season. But they are really pretty perennial to add for fall. And fall has definitely arrived at Lowe's. They have a bunch of decorative pumpkins and some other decor. While I love the real thing as a gardener, these are low maintenance, they're not going to rot, and you can put them out from year to year. So there are some perks to this stuff too. Let's see. This one here is an 8-inch pumpkin, and they are $22.98. says indoor or covered outdoor. So if you do put these outdoor, I have one that's ceramic. It starts to fade with the sun, and I'm guessing the elements will take a toll on it, so they'll last a bit longer if they're in a covered porch situation or indoor. So they have this one that's striped, and then there's also this orange one, $24.98. So the orange one is also, well, it's a little bit bigger. So the striped cream one was an 8-inch for $22.98, and this orange one is a 9.5-inch, and it is $24.98. And then there's this really large one that is a 13.5-inch pumpkin for $39.98. Very similar to the stacks that I have on my porch. Mine is ceramic, and I got them some years ago at Home Depot, and I love them. I put them out every year. They've lasted a long time. The paint is starting to fade, so I probably should touch them up at some point, but so far so good. And these here are $99.98 for the 24-inch triple stacked pumpkin. And this feels like a foam type material. So they wouldn't be breakable, but they're also more lightweight. So depending on the wind, they could maybe blow around. But they're really cool for fall decor. Some little gnomes, adorable. There's this little guy with a pumpkin on his back. This one here with some wheat in her hand. And that one with a pumpkin and a wheelbarrow. And these are $14.98. They're 10 inches. Here are some metal pumpkins. These would look nice on a mantle. They're pretty narrow, so they would stand nicely on a mantle. Look at that. They're metal. They're a metal material. Like a terracotta color or like a rust color with a little bit of cream and a little green patina. $22.98 for the larger one and $19.98 for the smaller one. So if you are looking for some new fall decor, you can probably find a couple of items here at Lowe's. I do like this metal sunflower. Look how pretty that is. It's one of these lawn or yard stakes. And it looks like it moves, like it bobbles. And this step ladder here, look nice leaning against a wall in an entry. The welcome ladders are $44.98, and the bobbling sunflowers are $24.98, and they're 36 inches in height. There are also some really pretty wreaths. Look at that. It's a 22-inch wreath for $39.98. A eucalyptus and wheat wreath with some pine cones. 22-inch wreath for $39.98. And some decorative planters with some little star or little gold star rudbeckia. So this bloom is a little bit smaller than the traditional goldstrum rudbeckia. And these are nice and full. So it comes in this decorative planter. And they are perennial. They like full sun. These are deer and rabbit resistant in my garden. And this container here is $24.98. You get a pretty good amount of them. You can probably divide this in at least 2 plants, if not a little bit more, if you don't mind them being smaller for the first year or so after planting. These are really easy plants to divide, and they are hardy down to zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. They get to be 14 to 16 inches in height and 14 to 16 inches in width. And that brings us to the end of today's tour. I hope that you've enjoyed checking out the mid-August inventory at Lowe's. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.